Hi everyone, this is Chris Green, the History Chap, and I just wanted to share with you 4 events that happened in British history, week commencing the 8th of November. So let's start on the 8th of November, 1861, the Trent Affair. Britain and America nearly go to war. This was during the American Civil War, where the Union in the north, which was anti-slavery, and the Confederate States in the south, who supported slavery, were in their civil war. Britain and France, the two main European powers at the time, were trying to keep neutral. But the Confederate States in the south were really hoping to draw in some support from Britain and France. They certainly wanted international diplomatic recognition as a separate entity, but ideally they'd like some sort of military intervention from Britain, who were in Canada. That would have really helped and could have tipped the scales in their favour. So 2 diplomats were sent from the Confederate States to Europe to try and win that diplomatic and maybe military support. And they travelled from North America on a British ship called the Trent. It was a civilian ship, a merchant ship, and whilst at sea off the coast of America, it was intercepted by a Union warship. And these 2 Confederate men, Confederate diplomats, were dragged off, arrested and imprisoned on the Union ship. Massive consternation in Britain. Britain, the mistress of the high seas, Britannia, had had a ship boarded in the Atlantic by an Americans, of all people. A very serious chance that there was going to be some sort of military conflict in reprisal between Britain and the US. In the end, it all blew over. The Americans apologised and they released the 2 Confederates, who were allowed to continue on their journey to Europe. Actually, they didn't achieve very much in Europe. There was not even diplomatic recognition for the Confederate States. But there you go, the Trent Affair. 11th of November, 1918. The First World War ends. At 11 AM on the 11th day of the 11th month, in the 4th year of the war, the guns finally fell silent. Peace had broken out. The First World War claimed the lives of over 880,000 British soldiers and another 250,000 Imperial or Commonwealth soldiers, especially from Canada, India, Australia, South Africa, New Zealand and Newfoundland, which was a separate entity from Canada at the time. It also claimed the lives of over 16,000 British civilians, 6,000 of whom died in the first ever air raids on Britain. But at 11 AM on the 11th of November, the guns finally fell silent. Watch my short, poignant story about the last soldier to be killed British soldier to be killed in the First World War. He actually was killed on the morning of the 11th of November. I'll put a link up the top here at the end of this video. So let's move on then. 14th of November 1908, Britain's first elected female mayor. Elizabeth Garrett Anderson was already a pioneer for women's rights. Her sister was Millicent Garrett Fawcett, whose statue stands in Parliament Square in London. Elizabeth was the first woman to ever gain a medical degree in history. That in itself is an absolutely amazing story, probably needs to be told in more detail. In short, despite wanting to study medicine, she was not allowed to because she was a woman. Elizabeth spotted that the Society of Apothecaries specifically didn't disallow women from sitting their exams. So she sat them and passed. And doing so, she was able to practice medicine. Interestingly, the society immediately changed their rules to prevent any such repetition by a woman. Nevertheless, intent on actually gaining a proper medical degree, she studied French and went to the University of Paris, where she was actually awarded her degree in medicine. In 1902, she retired to the town of Aldeburgh on the coast of Suffolk. She joined the town council, and in 1908, she was elected mayor, first female mayor of a British town or city. And indeed, her first act was to send a telegram congratulating King Edward VII on his birthday. She was re-elected the following year, and interestingly, she holds the distinction of being the first woman to proclaim a new king. She made the proclamation in Aldeburgh as the mayor when Edward VII died in 1910 and his son George V, our current Queen's grandfather, ascended the throne. And finally, the 14th of November 1940, the Coventry Blitz. It was one of the most devastating German bombing raids on Britain on a British city during the Second World War. Coventry at the time was a major motor manufacturing centre with Daimler, Triumph, Riley, Rover, Morris all in the city, with factories in the city. It also possessed one of the finest medieval city centres in England at the time. On the night of the 14th of November 1940, the German Luftwaffe launched Operation Moonlight Sonata. It was a surprise raid on the town during a full moon. It was the first time that the Germans had successfully deployed Pathfinder bombers. These were bombers who swept in low, dropping incendiary bombs to start fires that would guide the main bomber formations higher up in the sky towards the target. During the following 11 hours, 500 bombers dropped 500 tons of high explosives and 30,000 incendiaries on a city that was about half the size of a lot of the big industrial cities that have been targeted up until now, such as Liverpool and certainly London. The devastation was incredible. 43,000 homes, half the city's entire housing stock, were either damaged or destroyed. The historic medieval centre was gutted. And most famously of all, the cathedral, St. Michael's, was destroyed. It was the only cathedral in Britain to be destroyed during the war. Officially, just over 500 people died in the raid, but many inhabitants were unaccounted for. Whilst it left the city absolutely reeling, the images of the devastated city were a major propaganda own goal for the Germans. And the Christmas service in Coventry, which was held in the bombed out remains of the cathedral, were broadcast all around the world. In fact, that December, 60% of Americans surveyed said that the USA should help Britain, even if it brought America into the war with Nazi Germany. And after the war, a new cathedral was built right adjacent to the old cathedral. They stand together, and it's really a symbol of how Coventry, phoenix-like, rose from the flames of the Blitz of November the 14th, 1940. I hope you enjoyed those little snippets from British history, things you maybe had forgotten, things you'd never learnt about. If you want to learn more about British history, well, subscribe to the channel, have a look around the site as well, see what other videos appeal to you. And even better, why not sign up to get my free introduction to British history booklet, which you can find and sign up for at thehistorychap.com, www.thehistorychap.com. Until next week, take care, and I'll see you very soon.